This is a playtest of the forthcoming Silt versus role-playing game, part 4. Let's go ahead and recap where we're at. We have 2 active assignments right now, the Dusk Mother and the Floating Market. The Dusk Mother is the one where we have this this angel of the Dusk Mother in this community of Weft, this town of Weft. It is kind of terrorizing the locals, in particular a nearby meatpacking plant. And we think that it has a connection. In fact, we're fairly certain it has a connection to a local family, the Skeltons. And you have to figure out at just a real basic level, where is the angel's nest located? It's a pretty easy question. It's only complexity 2. I'm seeing that we have 4 clues found, but it looks like maybe 2 of them are not handed out yet, according to this. I see Clue Theo and Clue Bastion. Do I owe clues there? Okay. So, but there will be 4 as soon as I give those to you. And then, but you met some people. You met Ridley Hemsworth, the hunter, and then you've met the Skeltons as well. And off screen, out of character, we saw that Cousin Skelton is actually hiding someone from an organization they referred to as the Institute. That was actually a conspiracy clue, of which you have 4 now, by the way. And our other active assignment is the Floating Market. This is one where we have a black market trade in fragments of divinities appearing among goods sold at said market. It's a sort of floating bazaar that moves along the White Gull River. And we think that there are some divinely afflicted wares being sold here that the Greater Cottage Police cannot handle on their own, and so the Custodians have been sent in. And we just need to figure out at a basic level which illegal product presents the most serious danger to the public. That's a complexity 2, and it allows you to sort of focus your investigation further. You have 4 clues with that particular assignment as well. Let's take a look at the Dusk Mother and the 2 clues that I owe. Those were to Theo and Bastion. Let's see here. I'm not going to get too caught up in the details of like how you found these clues because I don't remember, but I'm going to just say what they are and someone can write them down. First clue is going to be, you would have had like the night there at the Skeltons as you're kind of getting ready to go to bed as well to look around. The first is, they have a set of handmade wind chimes of scrap metal and glass that are hanging, but clearly functioning as some sort of alarm based off how the family reacts whenever the chimes go off. That's your first of the 2 clues that I owe. The second clue is you see a spilled sack of Chitterling brand hallowed hog feed, promising rapid regrowth for a bountiful feast guaranteed. But the key here, I think, is it's been kind of spilled, like there was some kind of struggle or an accident or something like that. That is your second clue. And that makes it 4 total. You also have 2 verses available, one for each of these assignments, the verse of the Dreaming Nest and the verse of Promised Deliverance. If you ever need to bump up a die roll, those are available. And if I remember correctly, Sybil and Mercer were the ones who were at the Floating Market, and then Theo and Bastion are at Skelton Ranch. I do want to take a look at the Custodians really quickly. A fair few conditions out there in the world. Sybil's maxed out. Theo's very close to being maxed out. Bastion has 2. Mercer has none. Okay, good for Mercer. So just be mindful of conditions and how you can get those cleared. You can get those cleared if you just like sort of do something in the fiction that would clear it. I'm usually pretty open to that. The most consistent way to get them cleared is to journey somewhere and do the journey move with another custodian. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, then we are continuing here. We have our beginning of phase. If anyone has not done so, if you haven't done so already and you wish to, you can go ahead and change your end of session questions now in case you want to have a different focus for role playing today and try to get some XP out of it. That's something you can certainly do right now. And then otherwise, let me take a look at my play structure here. We've recapped, we've done all that. Do we have any moves that resolve at the beginning of the session? Nope, okay. Well, there are currently less than 3 active assignments, and so you get another assignment. I'm not sure how you're going to find the time to work on it, but that's what the game's all about. So let's go ahead and introduce this next assignment. You can follow along on the assignments tab. It is called the Sleepless Warden, and this one's a little more complex, so I'm going to take my time here. The Sleepless Warden. The distant town of Welkin's Vigil is perched on the northeastern cliffs of the peninsula, across the nameless channel from the distant Linger Straits. It once served as a military outpost in anticipation of a war that never reached the peninsula directly. Local historians will tell you that, in centuries past, it was the site of a stone fort where chieftains kept watch along the coast for incoming raiders. Anyone who's vacationed in Welkin's Vigil will tell you it's a lovely town with scenic views and quaint locals who are proud of their history, so it's an unusual location for the custodians to be sent on assignment. It seems that an iron cormorant, a decommissioned battle saint which, until recently, stood on display at a veterans memorial in the town square, has been activated and now patrols the outskirts of town. Some folks call it the Sleepless Warden. And just to give you a better sense of what this is, it's like a 20-foot tall metal Hulk, essentially, stomping around Welk's Vigil, or in the area. Security briefings with the Peninsulan Armed Forces confirmed that the Battle Saint was fully disarmed years ago and has no operational capacity. An expert from the Institute for Theological Research and Innovation has suggested that underlying divine influences may have played a role. The fact that the population of Welkin's Vigil is largely composed of veterans and families displaced by prior wars, all of them having served war gods in the past. If historical records can be trusted to remain unaltered by the slew of modern propaganda gods, it has also been claimed that Welkin's Vigil was once a pre-modern fort, built over countless burial mounds of distant warrior clans. Perhaps some ancient god has been stirred by an atmosphere of perceived threats and hostility to outsiders, or perhaps the residents themselves, driven by a growing paranoia about attacks from abroad, have found a way to awaken it through acts of unsanctioned worship. To complicate matters further, the town itself is recognized as a site of historic and divine significance by the Central Glottage government, which is monitoring recent events via the Welkin Historical Interest Preservation Society, or WIPS, to ensure that no historically significant features of the town are damaged further. In particular, the custodians have been informed that the town is sentimental to an important adjudicator who vacationed there as a child. This assignment must be resolved with a more cautious approach. I'm going to direct the following to Theo. Theo, what details of the report make you certain that a god now animates the Battle Saint?
I think it's more or less that the Battle Saint is now being seen at places that it's normally not been seen at before. Like, it's moving, but even when like they've put up like barriers to try to stop it from moving, it moves regardless. So
it's just demonstrating
more
more power, essentially.
Yeah.
More capability. Intriguing. So the question you have here is, has the warden been awakened intentionally or accidentally? It's complexity 2, and it unlocks the next question. So you've got nothing but threshold questions right now to deal with, all complexity 2s. Now that that is done, let's see what's next in our structure. That's it. So now we are in the investigation phase, unless someone wants to journey, in which case we'll go to the journey phase. I think I want to pick up, though. Let's just pick up the next morning. I think that it would have been no trouble at all for Mercer and Sybil to find lodging nearby the floating market. You can go back to it the next day if you wish. It hasn't moved on too far yet. And Bastion and Theo, you spent a night in Skelton Ranch in, all things considered, fairly comfortable accommodations. Bastion, what sorts of noises and disturbances did you hear all night that maybe made it a little difficult for you to fall asleep?
I think every hour on the hour, almost like a cuckoo clock, baby just says their name really loudly.
Oh, baby. Very good. Well, it's the next morning, Bastion and Theo, and you hear knocking on the door of the room that you're staying in. It sounds like it's sister. She says, "If you two want to come downstairs, I've got breakfast ready to go."
Yes.
Sounds mighty fine.
Mhm.
Oh, good. I hope you slept okay.
Right as rain.
Oh, good. And she doesn't say anything else, but she's still clearly standing by the door. She hasn't moved. And then she moves and goes downstairs. So what do you two do?
What's your take on the situation so far, Theo? It's been an interesting 24 hours.
It's there's definitely an influence here, but we have not seen everything, obviously. We haven't seen their angel, their mother, as it were.
Where do you figure this creature's hiding?
Well, um, leave out character. That is the question that we have to answer.
Yeah, I feel like we have 4 clues. We could
Yeah.
spitball a threshold.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a crack at it?
Yeah. Um, I think it's probably in the basement, considering like up here they've blacked out the windows at the ranch. And so like the angel's probably in a dark spot somewhere.
There was the like we described, there was like a mushroom growing operation.
There's a
Yeah.
god.
There's a different god, a mushroom god that
yeah. But didn't they have something on the property we described? I can't remember. It's been a
they
little bit.
were growing like vegetables and like have a like a really wild garden outside.
Mhm.
A mushroom garden, I think I threw in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but he who rides beneath the loam, or whatever it's called, that's a separate god, which might be connected to the mystery. Who knows? But
yeah. I don't know. Basement sounds cool to me.
Well, what are the clues that you think speak to this? Blacked out windows, so maybe it likes the dark, and they accommodate it in any ways they can. Because they might have even like, we can probably add some extra context there. If it's a basement, it would probably have those like windows that are like low to the ground, but like high up in the basement. Those might be blacked out, right? Okay, interesting.
The chimes might be an alarm to let them know when the saint leaves, not when it's coming in.
Love that.
Or maybe both, but just so they know the comings and goings.
Okay, that's good. You got 2 clues so far. What else? Or is that it? Flat roll or what?
I do think like the sort of deep claw marks, signs of a large predator, like this just takes the form of the angel being like a literal predator, and most predators like are nocturnal and that sort of the nature.
Where were those found? I can't remember.
Out in the woods.
Oh, okay. So that doesn't really
I found
that doesn't
them.
really speak to it being in the basement, though, right?
It just like I don't think it really explains too much, but rather just as to where it's at, but it's just a sort of context sort of thing.
Might be a future clue, I think. What about the hog feed?
Yeah.
That's at least at the house.
I think maybe we found there's like a trail of the feed that leads towards the house.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. Maybe there's even some like coming from the basement. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a +1. That's pretty good. Let's take a look at the moves. It says, yeah, you'll roll minus the complexity plus the number of clues worked into it. So that puts it at a +1. Who wants to roll? Obviously, Moss and Gabriel, if you have other thoughts on this, you can certainly chime in, but it seems a pretty simple, reasonable explanation to me. So
I kind of like in character figuring it out as well. It's fun.
Yeah. So Theo, what do we think?
I could roll.
All right, go for it.
Okay. That is a 7.
A 7. That's with the +1.
+1.
All right. Very interesting. Okay, so on a 7 to 9, the answer is correct, and the opportunity can be pursued, but I will add an unwelcome complication to the answer, and or pursuing the opportunity will be more dangerous. I'm not going to, well, so that for a threshold question, it's not really super applicable, but I think what I might do is I might just kind of make this situation a little stickier for you. In any case, you do unlock the next question. The next question is, all right. Actually, you unlock the next 2 questions, or the next appropriate question. Oh, interesting. Oh, this is interesting because offhand, Gabriel, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to pose both or just the one that I think makes the most sense here.
It's meant to be both, but maybe there's a different way I could phrase it.
Yeah, the next appropriate
kind of like
question.
Whichever approach.
Right. Yeah. I think, okay. So let's just unlock these 2 questions.
Noted.
Yeah, we need to probably rephrase that. All right. We'll need to tell Ben as well if we make that change. Yeah, so you have 2 questions now, which are 2 different ways of resolving the assignment. You can pursue either. The 2 questions are, how is the angel bound to the skeleton family? And if you answer this correctly, it's a complexity 4. It allows you to resolve the assignment by weakening, driving away, or destroying the angel, disrupting the cycle of dependency so that the skeleton family might survive on their own again. So that's an interesting approach. Put that there. The second question that is opened up is, what purpose drives the angel? It is a complexity 6. This allows you to resolve the assignment by freeing the angel from the skeleton family and showing it something else it can protect instead: a forest landmark, a group of wild creatures, a dangerous place, or secret in need of a guardian. This unlocks the special move, the Dusk Mother's Embrace. So it's slightly harder, but it does open up a brand new move. So that is what's available on that one. That's complexity 6. So you're having this conversation. You've got this sorted out. You believe you know where the nest is, at least. You might be able to go down there and continue the investigation down the basement if you wish. You can maybe even, I'll leave it up to you whether you want to wait for a time when you think the Dusk Mother is no longer, or when Mother is no longer down there or not. But we'll come back to that in a bit. Mercer and Sybil. It's the next morning. The floating market hasn't gone too far. You can certainly go back to it. You also have this 3rd assignment as well. You also have a fairly easy question to answer as well, which is the which product that, I mean, there might be more to go look at, but which product so far do you think is the one that is like the danger that the custodians need to pay attention to? Let's just put the two of you together, maybe like outside of a roadside motel where you got a room or a couple of rooms.
Yeah, also Mercer, I do have a move, the Paper Flesh Covenant, which allows me to get a clue. Do you think I should do that now or wait?
Yeah, maybe if we look around, I don't know, up to you, because I think Mercer, like, I don't see what the danger is around here. There's a greeting card stall and looks like a lot of maybe sketchy food choices. I'm
Well,
not seeing anything yet.
I think that well th they showed me this creepy caterpillar that is supposed to eat people's sorrow, but apparently it got taken off the market because it started eating a little bit more. And I have been hearing some rumors that they're not able to control it, and it's very dangerous.
I did hear from a river goer. I spoke with the gardener. Said something about a worm as well. I don't know if it's the same one, but maybe that's where we should look. So I don't know if you want to use your ability towards that, that would make sense. Otherwise, I think I would just keep searching around.
Um, yeah, sorry, the fly buzzing around. It's pissing me off. But anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna go and inscribe a tattoo upon my skin with sacred ink. And it's on my like my shoulder uh and when I finish, it appears to be an Ouroboros Ouroboros, but instead of a snake, it's a caterpillar. And
That's cool.
yeah, and in your peripheral vision, it seems to writhe a little bit, but when you look back, it's just a normal, unmoving tattoo.
Nice. So per the move, you can use that for a future assignment or this assignment, but it sounds like you're probably going to use it for this assignment.
Yeah.
The caterpillar clue. I like it. We can go ahead and just add that to the clue list then. Yeah, that's pretty great. And I think you have to. Oh yeah, you marked ink. Yeah, you
Yeah.
mark ink. Yeah, great. Well, those are two solid clues. The Waxen Scrivener has spoken, has had their say, and they certainly know their fair share of things about dangerous insects, I'm sure. And you have other clues as well. But that said, I'm not sure how the message in a bottle and the waiver and the resistance movement figure into it. So those may not be helpful for figuring out which is the dangerous product. I don't know. But
Yeah. Well, have you read the message in a bottle yet?
I haven't yet. I mean, I think I want to sit on that, and if we're till we're trying to like put the theory together, that might give me more ideas.
Sure.
I would kind of be into poking around a little more to with like keeping the worm clues in mind because it seems like a definite direction, but I think Mercer's sort of like, what's the big deal so far?
there's plenty more shops, so we can definitely go take a look around at more shops. Let's cut back over to Theo and Bastion. So, okay, you have breakfast. Theo, the breakfast was like perfectly hearty and fine breakfast food, but there's one detail about the breakfast that you were served that makes you feel a little, even you, a pox monk, a little unnerved. What was it?
Well, for starters, there seems to be like little ground up pieces that don't quite chew upright, and like I take a bit out and it's like white, and I'm like, huh, is this my tooth from last night? That's gross. So yeah, the food has teeth in it.
Lovely. Hopefully not, hopefully not people teeth, but I guess, maybe we don't have the kind of time to sort that out. So, sister, she's just watching you the whole time while you eat. And looking at your reaction and very hovering, right? She's dressed this morning in like, it's like if you took like a porcelain doll, but like blew him up to life size or adult size. But she's even like painted her face, very white with like very unhealthy amounts of rouge on her cheeks to make herself look like a big porcelain doll. You can already hear brother out front doing some work and hollering at cousin, who's also reluctantly helping with the work. Baby's crawling all around the house. Bastion, what do you do?
This breakfast sure is a delight. Were you the one who prepared it for us, sister?
Oh, yes. I'm so happy you enjoyed it.
Yes, it has a wonderful crunch to it.
Well, there's more to a meal than just the flavors and the quality of the ingredients. There's also the texture to consider.
I'm giving it thorough thought. Uh, Speaking of more to something, I wanted to ask how things been going here on the farm lately. I've heard that you and your family haven't ventured much out to town lately.
Go ahead and roll the information move with presence. Let me take a look
Okay.
at your conditions don't apply here, so just presence is fine.
That's pretty good. That's 9 on the dice, and I have a +1 to presence now because of my advancement last time.
She says, well, of course, why should we go out in town when Mother provides with everything we need? That truly is the secret to good living. It's not enough to simply worship gods and angels, to follow saints. You have to form almost a bond with them, parent and child, with the worshiper as the child. We are Mother's children. That's why we call her Mother. And like a child, we trust that our Mother will provide, will always be there for us. And that trust has not ever been proven to be misplaced so far. She hasn't given you the clue yet. That's just
Yeah. Bastion will
preamble.
place his hand over her hand and say, "You really are a doting, dutiful child of your mother. Has there ever been, though, at some point, it's true for all children that they spread their wings, make their own families, find their own way in the world? Have
You
you
will
given much
notice
thought to the future?"
You will notice during this conversation that she has been, now that you've had time and daylight to sort of get a good look at her, that her movements are very avian like. She bobs her head like a bird. She turns her head to look at things like a crow puzzling out a problem. And when baby crawls in wanting food, she chews up a bit of sausage and then transfers it to baby's mouth via her own mouth, like a bird would do. This is your clue. She says, I'm sorry, what were you saying? As she lets the last little bit of sausage fall into baby's mouth.
I was just wondering what your plans for the future were, if you'd given them much in the way of thought.
Oh, we're simple people, friend. We don't have grand ambitions. We just want to live our lives, take care of Mother so she can take care of us, and take care of each other so we can then take care of Mother. It's a beautiful cycle.
Lovely to see. And he pats her hand gently and looks over at Theo. I was thinking about maybe taking a look at that meat packing plant.
Mhm.
Heard there was a bit of trouble over there.
Mouthful of chewed up sausage, baby.
But it would be a bit rude to leave without presenting sort of a gift for the hospitality that we've received.
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah, and I start rummaging in like my bag that I've taken with me that has my stuff with it. My briefcase. And like I pull out this jar of nutrient-rich compost water, and I'm like, well, I noticed that you had a garden outside, and I want to give you this. This will help your plants grow.
She says, "What a wonderful gesture. Thank you so much. That's really, really lovely." I assume you're triggering let it pass into me.
Yes, I'm triggering that so I can remove a condition.
Yeah, cross it off your altar. And what condition are you
Mhm.
going to clear?
I am. I'm going to remove punch arm because like it's been a while since I thought that.
That sounds good. Just kind of work through that. She takes it out to brother, and they're very thankful. They're very nice people, really, truth be told. There's nothing particularly like menacing or malignant about them. They just have very strange religious beliefs, not unusual in this world, and a very, very interesting home life. And an angel of the Dusk Mother living in their basement. So, it's just a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's check in on Mercer and Sybil. So, Mercer, what's your first move here?
I think I would just like to get a sense of what other shops are around, just to make sure I'm not overlooking anything.
Yeah, I love that. I'll just kind of give you a rundown of like what might be promising, and then you can decide where you both decide where you want to go. You've seen Speedy Supplications. That's the greeting card vendor. You've seen Inspired or Revel Among Ruins. That's the sort of garish kind of toy vendor. There's also Guddle and Croak Inc. They promise spiritual afflictions removed. This is actually a pair of pox monks running a clinic from their barge. We have Relics Reborn, sort of antique barge. There is a restaurant, Salt and Smoke Floating Grill. There is an outfit called Jones and Company, Theological Containment and Dissolution Services. Not entirely clear what they sell, but it's an interesting name at least. Those are probably our most like promising stalls, barges. So what do you do?
Sounds interesting to you, Sybil.
Well, I wanted to check out the theological containment. I feel like they could be useful.
Sounds good. Mercer?
I think I'll check out the food, the grill or whatever. Might be things that a lot of people are eating, could be dangerous in that way, contamination or something.
Let's start with Jones and Company, Theological Containment and Dissolution Services. It's actually, Sybil, it's a large floating geodesic dome with prayer marks of sanctuary and containment on every surface, tethered at a distance to a repurposed Coast Warden rescue boat. Everyone, well, I should probably tell you a little bit about what this place does so that you can answer the vaccine question. Essentially, what they do is they contain and, if need be, destroy problematic divine things. That's essentially what their purpose is. Now, I've described this floating dome tethered to a repurposed Coast Warden boat. Paint the scene. Despite its humble appearance, how can you tell that the providers of this service are in fact quite experienced and competent in their work?
I think they're always keeping a very measured distance from the dome when they're not letting any other boats get closer. They almost have like a barge pole that they're like measuring distances with, and just seem very alert.
I think sort of if you were to look underneath like the floating dome, you notice like it's one of the few places that have been directly buoyed down and have like a solid anchor, so it's not moving out, bumping into like other barges and what have you of the floating market.
So the prayer marks of protection are uh painted on with like industrial paint, and they have like a ton of layers of sealant and blessed sealant so that they'll never come off. And you also have separate prayer marks to make sure that they never come off.
It might have been from a previous job, since this one seems a bit more off book, but I think they have a like sign posted that's has the official like Glottage government seal. Like they've done this sort of work for the for the government before.
I love it. So I'll tell you that you see a few people as you approach Sybil. There is the apparent proprietor of this place. You'll learn from just casual conversation with people standing around that that's Calamity Jones. Um, she is wearing a leather trench coat, has a shaved head, covered in constellation tattoos, and most conspicuously, a bandolier of vials containing, no doubt, antidotes and emergency prayer scrolls. Um, Interestingly, Sybil, she's a former custodian. By looking at her, how do you know?
Uh, well, it's the look in her eyes, the way she surveys everything as if it's a potential hazard. And I've noticed it's the look I've started to get.
She sees it in you too. There's a look of mutual recognition, I think, when she looks up at you. But she's busy handling another person who appears to be some sort of inspector. A man wearing a captain's hat and a jeweler's monocle, and he's kind of like muttering rapid fire notes into a little kind of recording device, and he's kind of chatting with Calamity. He's actually a double amputee, and he's sort of rolling across the deck on the base of an office chair, and that's how he seems to get around. And he seems very skilled at it. He must be kind of a local, kind of like sort of like barge inspector or something. The way he gets around so easily, despite his sort of makeshift mode of transport. And then there's also someone who is just sort of standing in the background, tall, very tall, knotted forearms slick with oily filth, wearing a full face mask and tinted goggles, and bearing a shovel and a heavy tool belt. What do you do, Sybil?
Um, so I'm gonna go up to Calamity, and I'm gonna ask her about well, I guess I'll ask first what this place does.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Let me check with Mercer. So, Mercer, you're going to Salt and Smoke Floating Grill. It's an aging catamaran with a charcoal grill and various soup pots mounted between the hulls. It's still fairly early in the day, so they haven't really like kind of kicked up a business yet. So, um, but you can kind of see things that are getting ready to be made. You also see some old flags from commercial farm deities hanging loosely on the catamaran, the chitterling, the toothed egg, the butter princess. Um, but it seems like none of those brands are actually being served here. Um, Paint the scene, everyone. What modifications are in place that allow all food products to be rapidly disposed of in case of emergency?
I think in like the preparatory like sort of station that there is, like the food is like has been laid out. There it's on top of like a tarp. So like if it's like if things start flooding, they could just like wrap it all up in a hurry.
There's a direct chute from this boat into the river. That's just labeled food chute.
The employees do drills of like, grabbing everything and run like every week.
The grill itself is like on a rotating stand, so it could just be flipped and just dump everything into the water below.
Mercer, it seems like there's just one person there, Mog Squamous, a chef by the look of him. Stained apron, lank and thinning hair, a greasy odor, toothy grin. Um, a notable collection of wards and charms hanging from, oh, it's a woman actually, from her neck and from the rigging. Mog sees you and she says, "Ah, can't get enough of the godflesh bites, eh? Well, we're not quite open yet."
Oh, no worries. Just taking a stroll. Do you have any of the any seasonal catches? It's almost the time for the fiddler crab feast. I hear there's really good seafood on the river here. I've never tried it.
We only serve one thing here. It's salt and smoke floating grill. Not because I have any particular culinary biases, but I just serve up what the people want, what makes me the most money, and that's godflesh bites.
Is there any particular what would just what's unique about it? What's the flavor?
You can go ahead and make the information
Yeah,
move with presence.
sure. Let's see. That is 1 second. See if I need bonus to presence. Nope, that's 11.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this.
Yep.
So Theo and Bastion, what are you doing now? Your time in Skeleton Ranch is over. I think it's time for them to get about their day and for you to get about your day as well. So what do you do?
Bastion actually wants to like pack up some of the feed that was spilled before heading to the meat packing plant, but then he'd kind of like to check out the meat packing plant.
All right, I like that. Theo, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm just going along with, because like it seems as though this place doesn't really have too much in terms of locations of like being like, hey, we could go this because everything seems to be closed down, or just like it's a town that's dying itself. It's hard to really engage with it. But
You don't have a ton of leads. I mean,
yeah.
you've got the the meat packing plant's probably the most significant thing. And there was an abandoned lumber mill on the way in, but whether that's connected to the mystery or not, who knows? Okay. So sorry, Theo, where are you going again?
I'm going with Bastion.
Okay.
It was just a very long way,
Yeah, okay.
winded way of saying it.
Yeah, fair enough. Hopworth Industries processing plant. You get there. Distant feedlots and warehouses behind barbed wire fencing. Trucks adorned with commercial prayer stamps of the chitterling. Droning machinery interrupted by the occasional squeal. And of course, the visceral aroma of manure, blood, chemicals. Paint the scene. Everyone, how is it obvious that this facility operates with little oversight?
Even from the outside, the stench of the blood, the manure is very strong. And looking at our shoes, it's still like it's almost like the plant itself is bleeding out.
Normally, where there'd be a board posted for I don't know in the world of Silt versus if there's OSHA, but whatever the equivalent
Of it is, yeah.
The equivalent regulatory authority. Normally, you'd have like a board posting that has all of the notices that either employees or managers or everybody needs to know, and they have this posted in big letters so that everybody can see it. And I think there's just that board does not exist at this facility. There's people if people aren't even aware of what regulations they should be following, let alone are they actually following them.
Everything is held together with duct tape.
think there are just like loose wires and cords that are like going almost across puddles. There's just like nothing has been managed or kept weather safe. So there's like exposed machinery and wires.
It's a bit of a mess. Bastion, what do you do?
I think Bastion's just gonna walk right in. And I have brand recognition as a move now. So once per session, I can enter any location without drawing suspicion or being questioned about my activities.
Oh, very good.
So I'm just gonna like flash my insignia of the Saint Electric at the fence line and just go in like not like I own the place, but like I'm there to service it.
Like you're supposed to be there, yeah. You're you're met right away by someone who has their name embroidered on their work shirt, Dennis Rigsby. He is bleary eyed, week old stubble, and quite bad breath. A reflective safety jacket and stained boots, repaired with duct tape. um, and he says, I didn't know we were having, is this some sort of electrical inspection?
Just who I was looking for. My name is Bastion Ward. I'm here on behalf of the Saint. You know the one.
I do know the one. Well, we don't require any particular mending
Oh,
of
now
prayer
come on. We
marks
both know
or
that's not the case. Look over there. I see that exposed wiring. It's been damaged by that machinery. I was called here on assignment. You know, the
well,
Blazing Martyr has her information networks.
we have passed all of our recent Glisha inspections. That's the Glottage Health and Safety Association, and I wasn't under the impression that we needed to make any particular changes or repairs. I mean, what we do out here is pretty simple and straightforward.
Yeah, Bastion's gonna like throw his arm around his shoulder and give it a little squeeze. Now, come on. You can. We're both wearing high vis right now. You can talk to me. I know that there's stuff to be fixed here.
This is, well, anything that's wrong with Hopworth Industries in this plant has got nothing to do with us. It's got everything to do with, well, never mind. I shouldn't say anything.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm not actually here about the electrical work. I'm actually here as a custodian of sorts. I think the problem that you're dealing with is something that I can help you with.
Go ahead and make the information move with presence. Do you get a bonus because of brand recognition?
If I'm leveraging the Saint Electric.
Yeah, you can. When you leverage your association. Oh, roll the advantage. Yeah, go for it.
All right. Hey, that helped slightly. That is a 9 total.
Okay. I'll give you a clue in a bit. Theo, what are you doing in the meantime?
I think while Bastion is causing a bit of a distraction, I think I'm going to try to like find like my way through to like further into the plant where they're actually cutting up the meats. Like see what other gods are in the area and why like possibly the Dusk Mother is having a sort of competition per
Yeah,
se.
we'll see. Yeah.
Or like
You
what's
can
going on there?
You can do the information move with what is it? Insight?
Maybe.
What's the name of it? Yeah, Insight.
Okay.
What's the name of the person I'm talking to? I'll add it to the
Dennis
characters.
Rigsby.
Dennis Rigsby.
That is an 8.
All right, so I owe you two clues and possibly 2 complications. We'll check back in with the 2 of you in a bit. So, Sybil. Calamity, she says, hello, fellow custodian. Well, in my case, former custodian. I'm a bit busy with the inspector right now, but if you want to just stand over there for a bit, I'll be with you in a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
And she's kind of there, like kind of going back and forth with the inspector, and he's kind of going on about like different things. They're kind of arguing about something, and what are you doing in the meantime while you're just kind of being left in the corner?
What is there anybody else hanging around?
There's that guy with the shovel and the work mask and goggles and the big heavy tool belt. He's just
Okay.
kind of he looks like he's waiting for the inspector to leave as well, and he looks like he works there.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have a chat with him. I'm just gonna ask him like, what do you do here?
You're going to discover very quickly that this gentleman is not the most talkative of people. He just sort of looks at you with his mask and goggles and just sort of says, I shovel things.
Okay. Well, keep on shoveling then. And what does he appear to be shoveling?
Yeah, it's interesting. You can go ahead and make the information move now with reason, or not reason, insight.
Okay. That is 7 plus 2. So that's 9.
Okay, very good. And Mercer, you what did you what you rolled? You got 10, right? Or 11?
Rolled 11, yeah.
Yeah. Good. You're chatting with Mog. She says, well, you're in luck. I actually have some here. It was going to be my little afternoon snack, not for the customers, but since you seem so interested, listen, don't settle for anything you find in these branded restaurants. This right here is the real deal. Locally imported. I guess you could say it's an acquired taste, but once you try something that's so, well, full of life, you'll never go back to regular supermarket meat. And she takes a minute to sort of heat it up. And she hands you a bowl of steaming broth, inside of which is something gleaming, pearlescent, and segmented. The whole thing has a sizzle and crackle of sort of internal radiance. And you can see sprouting crunchy green shoots and tender fungal blooms and shades of pink and violet. She says, this is the good stuff. Do you know why we call it Godflesh Bites?
This isn't from your from a
Because it's
chicken.
made with Godflesh. Truth in advertising. That's what I say.
That's right.
It's controversial,
Yeah.
trust me. And it's difficult to come by, Godflesh. But it makes good eating. Very good eating.
Looks delicious. I'll be sure to come back when you're open. But what, if you don't mind me asking, you said this is, locally produced. You must have some skilled network too. I mean, what is this from? Can I ask? Is this a land creature? Is this a water? This looks like something of the water. Even though I suppose you said you don't have seafood.
She leans forward. This is your clue. She says, truth be told, I don't know exactly where it comes from. I just started praying for something to help me turn my business around. And every few weeks, I get a new delivery of fresh meat. Somebody out there wants me to succeed. Someone loves what I'm doing here. And 10,000 gods. What's the harm if a few of them end up in the pot, right?
Argue with that?
Indeed not. Indeed not. And there's no danger in it. eating god flesh.
Sure.
How does she know it's god flesh if it just
Right.
comes out of the blue?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's the clue, though.
Nice. Yeah. Love it. Am I being offered a taste of this, or is she just kind of showing me? Because if
Do you want to eat it?
I can eat it without harming myself, apparently.
You can eat it and roll the revelation move unless you have a
Sounds
special
good.
move. Do you have a move that helps you?
I do. I'm into rolling anyway, but the mouth devouring currently, I can.
Oh.
I mean, but it's god flesh, so there's no
Let's
way
see.
that's
You
not.
can consume any object or material, evidence, virtual objects, small creatures without harm to your body. No, the rule, the move's the move. You can eat it. But I will ask you this though: How does it make you feel? I'll give you whatever you say. I'll let it be a clue.
Yeah, that's fun. I think. Let me think about that. I'll come back to it.
Sounds good. Let's take a 5-minute break. Clues. I owe a fair few of them right now. Theo, you're walking around the actual, slaughter grounds, I guess. You do see pigs mostly being put through the processing, of themselves. And it's what you would expect. Lots of blood, lots of machinery noise. It's all very kind of orderly and neat, despite the fact that it's a bloody business, and despite the fact that Hopworth, in many other ways, is kind of a not exactly by the book operation, but they do what they do efficiently enough. You can definitely tell that people are a little unnerved by the events of recent days, though, because, and this is your clue, you notice that they have hanging up all over in high places what appear to be little effigies of twigs and feathers. And you got a 7 to 9, right? I think
Yep.
one of the workers sees you noticing the effigies, and he comes over. He's wearing a big, heavy kind of plastic apron, and work gloves. And he says, "Everyone's scared of what comes from above, but they might want to start turning their attention to what lies beneath their feet. And here I will ask you the following, Theo. Looking at this person, how can you tell he is a follower, if not somehow enthralled by writhes beneath the loam?"
Well, yesterday I had a very close encounter with Rise Beneath the Loam, in which the god tried to climb up my leg. This person, I can see sort of tendrils climbing up their collar, like back through the back of their head.
I would like the revelation move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve here in this conversation with this follower of Writhes Beneath the Loam?
I'm afraid that that this god is going to get a little bit more aggressive with me, and trying to make me a new follower or what have you.
I think it's worse than that. I think that this follower of Writhes Beneath the Loam is going to have an accident in your vicinity with some of the equipment. I'm going to put you at disadvantage because you have a condition that is marked by Writhes Beneath the Loam. So please go ahead and roll focus, but at disadvantage.
Okay. I keep looking every time, and I know that there's nothing to help me in this situation. So that's a 3.
Bastion, while you're in the middle of your conversation with this Dennis Rigsby character, you hear a commotion breaking out on the actual killing floor of Hopworth Industries. Dennis says, well, hold on one second. It sounds like something's going on. And he runs away from you. What do you do?
I think I will. I think I'll head deeper into the facility.
If you just follow him, you'll discover quickly enough that there's been some kind of horrible accident on the killing floor. Someone who had one of those like devices that kind of brains the animal, those pneumatic devices, accidentally they accidentally pneumatic Theo, and you see Theo laying in a pool of his own blood and brain matter. And Dennis says, "Oh my God, wasn't he with you?"
Yeah, well, he was.
Unless you are writing a verse, Theo.
I'm going to write a verse. I think I'm gonna pick a verse of history. I haven't decided which one yet.
Very well. That'll take your roll to a 7 to 9 instead. You do it or hold steady, but there's a complication or cost. I'll describe what it looks like. We'll come back to this in a bit. So instead, Bastion, Dennis, none of that happens. And Dennis says, "Are you here about what's been happening to the animals?"
No other reason.
"Something's been attacking them. Something from above. Some kind of winged monstrosity. But I'm sure you've heard those rumors already."
I've heard the rumors. I've visited the skeletons.
Huh, the skeletons. Oh. I actually had to go by there once. A while ago.
Did you meet Baby?
The less we talk about Baby, the better, but that's not even the weirdest thing about Skeleton Ranch. I had to go in there once. And did you know I was dropping off a delivery? This is when I worked for another part of Weft. I was sitting in a parlor with the one who calls herself Sister. And they had in the parlor a large taxidermied goat. Beautiful work. But the taxidermied goat was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. I thought that was very weird.
Which way was it wearing the jeans? Was it like on the back half of the goat, or like both set of legs, or?
You think I'm lying? You're making fun of me.
I think putting jeans on a taxidermied goat's a hell of a story.
Well, the skeleton's a hell of a family, aren't they?
Oh, fair enough.
That's your clue, though. Taxidermied goat wearing clothes. Must have some sort of significance to all of this. Maybe. Who knows? You got a mid result as well, right? Yeah, I thought so. He says, "I tell you what, I'm really glad you came by. There's a lot of weird stuff that's been going on, not just around here, but the entire town." And then at that point, I think at this point you're still kind of like standing outside a little bit. You haven't gone quite into the floor yet. A shadow goes overhead, a winged shadow. And Dennis, his face goes white. He's like, it's happening again. It's happening again. And he runs off. I would like just the veiled move for now, because we don't know for sure there's godlike activity here in this shadow. But nevertheless, what are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve right now?
I'm afraid I'm gonna miss an opportunity to see this creature up close.
Go ahead and roll with focus.
That is a 7.
I will tell you what the complication is going to be, and you can decide whether you want to bump it up or not. But basically what's going to happen is Mother is going to change her sights and grab a worker from the plant, and you will have to rescue them because you will be the only person around. If you're okay with that, let it stand. Otherwise, you'll have to write a verse.
Grab them and go fly off, or like stay here with it? We don't know yet.
Who knows?
Yeah. That does sound kind of fun, though. I almost, if I were to write a verse, I'd almost want it to be worse. I'd rather be the one grabbed.
Very good. So you're gonna let it stand?
I'll let it stand.
Okay, we'll come back to this. Sybil, the shoveler. If I remember correctly, you would ask, "What do you shovel?" A good natural follow-up question. And he doesn't answer, but actually, I can't remember her name. Find her real quick. Calamity answers. She's done with the inspector, or she's left him to his own devices. And she says, well, he doesn't have to shovel much anymore these days, because now we have Pit in a Box.
What is that?
And she shows you a very like heavy industrial chest with reinforced corners and padlocks on each side of the lid. She says, this little baby right here can completely dissolve any matter placed inside it using a series of precision-aligned, custom prayer marks of the patient void, the equalizer, and the endless dream from which we are born and shall return. There are etched warnings on the box exterior that state, simultaneously disposing of untested combinations of sanctified, hallowed, anointed, imbued, or otherwise divinely affected materials, presences, or manifestations may lead to unlicensed transfiguration, irreversible environmental pollution, and rapid acceleration and or degradation of spatiotemporal continuity. Drop it in the box, and away it goes.
That actually sounds like it could be useful. So, what do your what does the what do you call the theological containment? What do you do besides, sell pits in a box?
She says, well, it's not, we don't sell this little baby. This is just where we put the stuff that we have to contain.
Okay.
Stray, small, pesky angels from time to time. Busted idols that have not been desanctified. I once had to drop in a whole set of brass hinges that went to the door of a church. I don't want to say why this was necessary. It was something of a supposed to be a little bit, well, not supposed to talk about it, but let's just say that the God,
well, it's just you
in
and
that
me,
church, that God in that
What did
church
she say?
was unhappy and basically any kind of divine manifestation, object, curiosity, relic, fragment that needs to be gotten rid of safely goes in the box. Now, my friend here, Red Gill, that's the shoveler, what we used to do is well, we used to dig great big holes, didn't we, Red Gill? And we performed various rites in order to contain, desanctify. But now that I've got Pit in a box, honestly, it makes my job quite easy. And Red Gill, I'm afraid, I just keep him around because of old times.
All right. Yeah, well, it sounds like you do great work here. I'm curious if you feel there's anything at the floating market being sold, or belonging to one of the stores here that needs containing.
That's, I think I owe you a clue, right?
Do you?
This has come from a die roll, right? I'm pretty sure when you asked
Oh,
him.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
got a 9.
She says, well, funny you should ask. And she looks over at the inspector, and they give each other kind of like a funny look. And the inspector, who's wheeling around on his office chair, he says, leave me out of it. Just leave me out of it, Calamity. I've got nothing to say on the matter. And Calamity says, that's a man that knows what around here needs to go in the box. Good luck getting him to say.
Okay. So you got no idea?
The clue is you're owed a clue, but you have to get it from him. That's the complication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm gonna talk to him. I'm gonna say, yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure we have similar goals. We're both trying to make sure everybody here is safe. And we're on official business. So I was wondering if you could share with me what you think is going on, if anything.
He looks at you skeptically. He says, now listen here. I'm afraid to say that I have 2 masters in this world. One, my obligation to the customers of this market. And 2, Calamity herself. I happen to have an eye on what and how and whether and when certain things of a divine nature are going to cause problem, and whether they need to be kept in check for the safety of customers or put in the box. And yet, I have a third master as well. Good old-fashioned coin. And that master's whispering in my ear right now. They suggest to me that you are asking questions that have a provenance that, well, let's just say. And then Calamity says, oh, just cut the shit, Twinge. They're a custodian, like I was. Twinge says, fine. Fine. You could at least make it worth my while, though. Why should I talk to you?
Okay. Do I have money?
You do, but he might be more interested in a barter.
Okay. Well, I do, I do have, ink, which yeah, well,
Do you
you
show it to him?
know, yeah, I'd say,
He
I
says,
have,
uh, by
I
the stains on your fingertips, by your general bookish look, and the fact that you're holding up a bottle of ink, I'm guessing you are a scribe of the waxen scrivener.
um, perhaps,
Calamity says, obviously. And that then is sacred ink. Yes?
indeed.
Oh, a pot of sacred ink. That's no small thing. If you were to give me that sacred pot of ink, I might be able to tell you what my inspector's eyes have seen that might be of interest to the custodians. What needs to go in the box?
Yes, I would like to know. All right. Um,
You can mark the ink and I'll
okay.
tell you.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Um, the waxen scrivener, she can be a bit unpredictable. So perhaps it might be better for me to mark a prayer for you because I wouldn't want anything bad to come of you for you using this ink on your own and you know.
Whatever preparations you think are necessary.
All right. Yeah, so I'll just offer to like give him like a prayer mark or something for whatever he wants because I don't really feel comfortable with just giving him straight up ink.
Hmm. Um, he says, all right, a prayer mark that will help Calamity get the best deal for her disposal services would be most welcome. People seem to think that just because your job is to make something go away, and because they don't get to walk away with something at the end, that such services should not be properly compensated.
Okay. So I'm gonna like take out a page from one of my notebooks and I'm gonna like scribble over the stuff already written and I'm gonna inscribe a prayer mark upon
Mm-hmm.
it that will help with that purpose.
Yeah, Mark Inc. I love it. He's going to give you the clue. He says, all right. And then we'll come back to this.
Okay.
So, Theo, you do not get brained by this worker. Hooray. I do think what I'm going to do, though, is I might wrap you up in the trouble with the mother. You do hear some commotion breaking out, and that worker kind of recedes into the shadows and lets other people deal with whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about a looming shadow with wings of twilight and eyes like twin moons. The wrath of the heavens, which crushes flesh and bone in silver talons, striking in the moment between heartbeats. Very curious for a creature of the Dusk Mother to strike during the day. You and Bastion must have stirred up something. The creature seems to know what it wants. You see it descending, twinkling in black from the shadows of the roof of the killing floor. How it got in, who knows? But you can see it descending upon you. What do you do?
Well, it seems that though it's trying to climb on down to reach me, I
It's
think
just
I'm going
swooping
to,
down.
yeah, I think I'm going to try to like find like some sort of like small enclosed space so it can't like squeeze in because I'm imagining in my head it's very large.
Let's do the it is. Let's do the revelation move. What do you afraid is gonna happen if you fail?
It's gonna pick me up and take me away.
It is worse than that. It is going to drop off the remains of you at Bastion's feet and then deal with Bastion. So
Oof.
let's go ahead and roll with, I think it's actually vitality.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, dice are kind to me for once this session. 12.
Very nice. I believe you get a bonus too on a 12.
Mhm.
You do. You get an extra benefit or advantage. I'll describe what that extra benefit or advantage looks like. The extra benefit or advantage is you will be able to I think you'll be able to chase it out of the killing floor. You'll be able to get it to leave.
Mhm.
Give me the scene. What happens here?
I think as like I'm trying to like try to like climb under machinery, trying to like find a good place to hide. It just keeps on trying to chase me, and eventually, I think I just make it to outside, and it's like it's still pretty. It's the middle of the day. It's still bright out, and it's like screeching at like the sun, and it's not very happy. So it just flies. It just leaves me be flying away.
Bastion, you hear the commotion and you see workers running. They're just panicking, right? You're outside still. And then you see this large winged figure swooping down just to grab a worker. What do you do?
Is this close to me, or is it something I can just see?
Um, I think you can depend. You might be able to act on it. It's no longer in the killing floor, but it's just outside now.
Okay. I think Bastion's just gonna try to draw attention to himself instead. Um, I think he'll. You know what I kind of like to do? I'd like to use my Sacred Conduit move and like expend a charge to, I don't know, produce some sort of signal. I know that actually this thing's sort of like a bird, and they have like interior magnetic compass stuff to
Okay,
help
I'm
them
into that.
navigate.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
gonna like emit electrical signals to this bird.
Very good. I love it. So whenever you spend a charge, you get to make the revelation move. What do you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I'm worried that. I mean, I'm worried it's just gonna grab the person, and I'm not gonna catch its attention at all.
I think it's worse than that. I think that. Hmm. No, I like that well enough. I think that'll do for now. Go ahead and roll with communion.
Cool. And then also, this is my third charge of the Sacred Conduit, so I think it will also trigger that as well.
Yeah. Oh, I see. When you channel that gives you advantage. Oh, and then when it's tracked, oh, then you have to roll dice whenever. Oh, you make the revelation move now whenever you mark all three. Oh, I see. Okay, well, so we'll come back to that. Let's roll just to see if you save this guy.
I got a 3.
Okay, so you do not. Um, the thing notices you. I'm going to give you a condition marked by mother. And then it just like tears this guy apart, like in front of you, just to show what it thinks of you. And it flies off, trailing blood back towards the Skelton Ranch, that general vicinity. And now that the track is full, an arc of raw divine current erupts from your body. What are you afraid is going to happen right now?
There's already a panic happening. I'm afraid that anybody in the vicinity is about to have an unpleasant electrical shock.
It's worse than that. So will Theo, in addition to you, or in addition to everybody else. Please go ahead and make that move with vitality.
Can't get a break now. Rolling so well earlier. That is a 5.
5. It is not great. Please describe the calamity, the catastrophe that's happening to everybody, and then I'll kick in when it's appropriate.
Yeah. And just FYI, on a miss, I must immediately mark a verse of prophecy or be consumed by the saint's power. So.
Oh, very good. Wow. So it's real bad right now.
So do we want to narrate what would have happened, or do we want to narrate what?
So it says on the miss, you
happens?
must immediately mark the verse of prophecy or be consumed by the saint's power. So I think that, like, yeah, you should just, you mark it and it just becomes a it just bumps back up to a hit, right? So on a hit, choose 1. On a 10 plus, choose 2. Yeah, choose.
I gotta protect Theo a little bit here. I'll say it discharges safely without striking anyone nearby.
Okay, very good. It absolutely fucks up the factory. All of the loose wiring, it all just kind of comes together. This power of the Saint Electric, your overcharge here, it just causes a fire, and a fire is breaking out. People are running out of the plant, and it's just fucking chaos. And WEF doesn't have a fire department or any kind of arrangements with any kind of, like, firefighting spirits and or gods. And I think the plant just burns down.
Yeah. I think like someone who has touched a live wire, Bastion can't move for most of this, as this current is just surging out of him. And as when he finally his eyes stop fluttering and he can properly see what's around him, and all the circuitry's been fried, vast wings of this place are on fire. People have mostly, for the most part, just fled already. I think Bastion's just going to look around, and he's just going to let loose a string of curses. And he looks heartbroken as he also flees the fire before it's destroyed totally.
I love it. I'm just going to make a playtesting note here that we have to change the text of this move. It's that the revelation move is not what fires off. This is a whole separate move that is rolled.
Right.
All right. I love it. Great. Theo, so much for the meatpacking plant.
I tried.
Yeah.
I think as this fire is breaking out, I'm trying to make sure everybody gets out and away from the burning building. I think at the end of it all, I'm still kind of waiting for Bastion to be de-statified or whatever divine nature is, because if I touch him, he's gonna take me out, and there's nothing I can really do about it. So as he gets out of it, it starts to just flee along. I think I'm just running alongside him.
Sybil, Twinge Moulton, who's the inspector, he says, have you ever heard the expression, you can catch more flies with honey? I think that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about a particularly dangerous little honeypot here in the floating market. That tugboat that's decorated like a cheap roadside carnival. Oh, the most terrible things in the market. That's where they are. terrible, angry things. And they use the facade of childlike mirth and wonder to hide their true hunger, their true intentions. That's where the dangers can be found. The true dangers.
Which one is he referring to?
This is the one where the worm, the caterpillar, the one that you were at last time.
Oh, yeah, I was a bit suspicious of that one as well. Have you heard of what is it? The caterpillar that eats your sorrows?
Gently glowing caterpillar with the soothing
Yes.
voice.
Yes, that's
He
it.
says, I don't know that one in particular, but that certainly sounds like some strange. Well, actually, no, I do know that. That was a toy that was marketed, a little miniature god that, yeah, yes, I remember that. They're selling those over there then, are they?
Yes, they are. He's tried to get me to buy it.
Interesting, interesting. Well, certainly Kaz has done a good job keeping that out of our purview, he says to Calamity. Calamity nods. She looks at you and she says, there's your danger. And
Okay.
they go back to their business. But the clue is that's where the danger lies, is that tugboat is the...
Okay, what's that one? Is that the Revel in Ruins or is that a different one?
That is Revel Among Ruins, yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Mercer.
Yeah.
We haven't checked in on you in a while. Do tell us, what does the god flesh taste like?
I just wanted to mention I'm interested in marking a verse to bump that to a 12.
Okay, what happens on a 12?
I think it's a conspiracy clue.
Oh, right. Oh, I was just giving you a clue. You didn't even have to roll for this because you just did not devouring. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was
just giving you a free clue.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I think Mercer, it feels conflicted. It's this weird thing of normally he grew up with, you make sacrifices to the river. You literally like give offerings of flesh. And this seems to be flesh that is just like showing up. Someone's dropping this off, almost like this god wants to be eaten. And that's just very strange, like he's having this like theological crisis a little bit about how weird that is.
Interesting. So how do we make that a clue? What's the clue there?
Oh, I'm thinking that it's like god flesh that wants to be eaten.
Oh, good. Yeah. God flesh that wants to be eaten. That's a good clue. Yeah, I like that. Intriguing. Well, I think at this point you probably all have enough clues to at least answer that threshold question of what is the most dangerous product in the market. You have quite a few clues that point towards the caterpillar. Do you want to say it as whatever it's called, the worm? What is it?
The worm. I'm into it. Yeah.
The gently glowing caterpillar with the soothing voice.
Yep.
Yeah. Seems like it.
Because that accounts for 1, 2, 3 clues, which is a +1, which is not a bad roll. Do you want to make that roll?
Yeah, why don't you roll it, Mercer?
Okay, I'm into that. That makes it a 6 with a +1.
Oh, that means it's wrong. That means it's not
intriguing,
the dangerous thing, and I get to make a reaction, which will be a very strong reaction, unless every custodian, all 4 of you, wants to write a verse to bump this up to a 7 to make it correct.
I'm fine with marking a verse.
Verse is always fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it, and I think it would add a lot of time if we wanted to find something else that was dangerous.
I like that vendor being the one selling the dangerous thing. I feel like we've really built that up, so I'm into it.
Everyone write a verse. There's also, and one of you can mark the verse of Promised Deliverance as well, if you wish. You don't have to mark the one from your sheets, but if you want to mark the ones from your sheets, you certainly can. But the verse of Promised Deliverance is available in this instance. Great. So that is correct. And let me tell you the next question. So the question, it's a straightforward. How can the product be neutralized? Complexity 4, resolve the assignment by destroying or severing any divine influence from the product so that it no longer presents a threat.
Oh, I believe, sorry, this is my fault with the phrasing. I believe it's one of the other two questions. So it can be that or the more complex one.
Oh, it is indeed. Oh, yeah.
You,
Oh, it's both. Oh, there's two questions. Oh, that's just me. I wasn't paying attention. Another question then, there's actually two. The second question is, get this. Somebody wants to just paste that in for me. That'd be great. The second question is, how can the custodians take advantage of the opportunities the market presents? It's a complexity 6. Resolve the assignment by negotiating an exclusive arrangement with the product vendor so that they will not endanger the public. You may now return to the floating market during the journey phase to pursue unique opportunities. Each time you do so, I will narrate a scene showing a vendor or customer of the market, and then we have a list of little things that you get to mark each time that benefits you, clearing conditions and finding help and stuff like that. So basically, you kind of co-opt the situation for the custodian's purposes. It's complexity 6, slightly harder, but those are the two questions. And so, question answered. Good. Let's just check in with Mercer and actually everyone at this point. I just want to find out where everybody wants to go next and what you want to do. And also, it looks like Mercer is marking the verse of promised deliverance according to chat.
Yeah, if no one else is interested.
So if you mark that, each custodian has to recall an advertisement for a divinely branded product and the benefits it promised that seemed too good to be true. So in addition to any other verses you've written, start thinking about the divinely branded product that you once saw an advertisement for. Too good to be true. In fact, why don't we take a little break since you all have some backstory stuff to think of? Let's take like 10. We'll come back in 10. Mm-hmm. So everyone has to do the verse of promised deliverance. One custodian marks it to get the bonus, but everyone has to recall an advertisement for a divinely branded product and the benefits it promised that seemed too good to be true. We can do that whenever you're all ready. And also some of you wrote other verses, either history or prophecy, that might have things that you need to get done. You just have to narrate those things or do whatever they say before the end of the session. I gathered from chat that Bastion and Theo want to have a little denouement scene after the Hopworth Industries burns down. So why don't we have that scene now? Where's it taking place and what's going on?
Yeah, you said that Theo kind of waited for Bastion to come to, and then the two of them ran out of there together. Is that right?
Yeah.
Where do you think we went to either take shelter? I don't know, watch the burning. Where do you think we went after that?
I definitely think like we went down to like the main like street thoroughfare. It's just sort of like it's away from things, but there's not much in town like that's open, or at least nothing that we are aware of about per se.
Yeah. Maybe we mentioned that like kind of we have lodgings in town as well, right?
No, I don't think you do. I think you went straight to Skeleton Ranch.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Sorry, that was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, we stayed at the ranch last night.
Okay. Then maybe we're like, maybe there's like a diner on the main thoroughfare or something. I'm just imagining we're like sitting down to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want like the name of a restaurant? I've got a bunch.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes,
let's get one.
Let me grab one for you. Hold on. If this was Journey, we could do the Journey move too, but I'll just tell you, I'll give you a restaurant here real quick. The Pelican's Perch.
Lovely.
Weird name for a town that is not near a body of water.
Well, appropriately bird themed though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think after we've settled in and like put our order in or whatever, and we're both just sitting there, I think Bastion like actually starts to like cry a little bit. Like I think it just sort of like starts at the edge, and he like realizes it's happening and like goes to wipe it. Sorry. uh, this it always comes as a shock, no pun intended, to me whenever he kind of looks down at his hands. He's wearing his work gloves that have the insignia of the Saint Electric on it. He's wearing his work vest that has the insignia of the Saint Electric on it. And I think he actually like takes them both off. He takes the gloves and sets them on the table. He takes the vest off and sets it on the table. I'm supposed to be able to handle it. I was chosen to be able to channel it, and sometimes I'm not up to the task.
I'm not sure if that's what you're seeing is correct. I looked at inside the factory and as far as I can tell, they don't worship any god in particular of meat, of slaughter, of husbandry in there. But for some reason they had these effigies of bird totems. I wonder if the influence of the angel has spread further, and this was just divine retribution from the Saint Electric herself.
He smiles a little bit, just at the edge of his mouth. It's a kind thing to say. I'd sure like to believe that that's the case, but this isn't the first time that this has happened. I was selected for my capability, for my ability to endure it, but if it leaves me and it passes on elsewhere, then that means I've failed as a vessel for her power.
Mm-hmm. But no one got hurt. That's the important matter. None of the people suffered for your actions. You must let yourself know what burdens you can carry and what you cannot. Let your compatriots carry some of the burdens for you. And I reach out my hand across the table.
Bastion will take your hand.
You're going to remove scorched flesh.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very symbolic, I think, of this moment. What does that look like, Theo?
I think with like the scorched flesh, it's onto the hands. They are burnt, and as Bastion touches my hands, his hands begin to heal and knit themselves up, whereas my hands start to crack and crumble and bleed a little bit, as though they are aging in a way that is not quite burning, because there is no open flame in this moment. So my flesh has to do something else, unnatural.
Nice. Transfer those conditions, and it was a good scene. We should probably have a little bit of a downtime between Mercer and Sybil as well, because you've come to a conclusion about what is the danger here. And so, where is this scene taking place?
I mean, the food here is questionable, but what were you gonna say, boss?
I was thinking maybe we could just like sit by the river and chat,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's cool.
okay.
Would not recommend the grill over there unless you're really looking for some excitement. It's
Oh,
God's
okay.
flesh.
It's God's flesh. They're serving flesh.
Strangest thing. I don't think that's the danger though. That's maybe just more if someone chooses to go and actually eat that. But what did you find?
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell him about my talking to Calamity Jones and the inspector, and the shoveler Red Gill.
Do you these sort of places, they do have a purpose. I mean, folks from some of our backgrounds, let's say, um, we need places to meet each other. We need places to do business. Um, whatever danger this worm might be, I mean, I think you and I can take care of it, but do we want to just shut that merchant down? I'm curious your thoughts about this type of a market, because
Well,
we
I
keep
mean, I
things
do
calm.
agree that it's important, and I also think that's why we need to keep it safe. I mean, we both know that not everything can take place within the legal, system.
Sure.
And honestly, that pit in a box sounded pretty good. I think we should try that. Just dump it in the pit.
The good friends to know, good useful place to a business to return to.
Hmm.
A little more efficient than just drowning something, I suppose.
Yeah,
But
so what were you up to? Oh yeah, well the Godflesh thing,
yeah,
right?
I taste the strangest thing though. It seems like I still can't shake the thought of meat like that just being delivered. She said that it just gets dropped off. It comes to her like it just wants to be eaten, and it's something. There's no purpose to that. Things sacrifices require intention, and I don't think that's our immediate danger. But there's other conversations to have. I think there's other visits to have with some of our vendors here.
Yeah. Well, it might be good to check in with the people who have eaten it, because if they're suffering any adverse effects, then it might be something to look into. But if they're not, then I don't think we need to make a big deal out of it.
Your friend at the toy shop sounds a little pushy though. I think maybe we should have a chat with him.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I want to know if he's managed to convince anybody to get their sorrows eaten by this caterpillar, because that would be bad.
The thing that really does rub me the wrong way though, these greeting cards telling me, you know, that they have a blessing for me, like they would know, and this toy that's supposed to eat your sorrows. It's a little it's a little fake, don't you think? A little shallow feeling. Maybe there's purpose in those feelings, and we don't want a product to just eat it for us. And Mercer's kind
Hmm.
of offended by some of these things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think um, it definitely makes sense that the natural effect of trying to get rid of some emotions is getting rid of all of them, which seems to be what's happening with this caterpillar.
Out of character though, yeah, right. Mercer will eat whatever. I don't know, out of character, if you wanted to do anything with like, could this be a journey move, or
Well, you are not
we kind of save that for the phase?
Strictly speaking, you're not in the journey
Yeah.
phase.
Right,
But I
right.
do like just the conversation as a general matter. I think it's a good one. And I would let you clear a condition if you had any, Mercer. And
I don't. Yeah.
Sybil, I don't know,
Well,
Sybil.
I was
Yeah.
thinking for the face, I might
Okay.
might want to just like peel my skin off that has the tattoo on it and just like bind it
Okay.
into my book.
I'll let you do that. You can clear it. Yeah, as a
Yeah. It's
condition.
just like standard practice for me.
Yeah, yeah, I like it.
I'm probably gonna do
Nice.
that with the tattoo later.
Good scene. I'm gonna check in with Theo and Bastion. While you're at the Pelican's Perch, you both notice across the street, and there's just one single street in Weft, and it's there ain't much around. You see someone crawling around on the rooftop of the two-story building across the street, an abandoned building. They've gone through a lot of trouble to cover themselves up. Hood, heavy black coat, and they're wearing something around their face as well, so that you just see eyes staring, and they're looking around, and then they crawl, and then you see them sort of like monkeying down between buildings, jumping from like, a little fire escape over to the next roof and so forth. It's clearly Cousin Skelton. So it seems like some of the Skeltons leave the ranch, or at least Cousin does, and I'm curious what the two of you do.
Is is that cousin?
That looks like Cousin.
What do you figure he's all the way out here for?
I think we may be being followed around.
Oh, indeed. Is currently um he is currently perched bird-like on a trash dumpster, and he's beckoning to you both. He's looking into the window, beckoning you over.
Yeah, Bastion will, write a check, leave it on the table, and head outside.
Mhm.
He says, "Hurry up. Get over here quick."
Oh, well, we're on our way. What can I do for you?
"You have got mother in quite a state, but that's neither here nor there. That's for brother and sister to sort out. I'm not as, well, what's the word? Henpecked by mother as they are. But there's more. I believe the two of you are being followed by someone, and not just me, presently."
But you are following us.
"Well, not at this exact moment, but I was, yes.
Hmm.
I am here with you now, presently."
Who else did you see?
And then he kind of gets real conspiratorial and quiet. "What do you know about the Farragol Institute?" And you may know something because of your position. The basics. The Institute, its formal name is the Institute for Theological Research and Innovation. It's a well-funded advisory board dictating which faiths are legitimate and which are not. Their public-facing work involves extensive surveying and cataloging of emergent deities and their followers, as well as consulting with various organizations on integrating new gods into different industry sectors. But privately, Cousin says, everyone knows what they're really doing. Research. Classified projects. Almost all of them with military applications. Oh yeah, the Institute is hard at work figuring out which gods they can cultivate and which ones must be culled which gods must be nurtured and which must be destroyed. And most importantly, which gods can be appropriated for the military-industrial complex. And I think you, meaning the Bureau, not you specifically, though in this instance, perhaps you specifically, are unwitting agents of their cause.
Sounds rather likely when you put it that way.
Well, aren't you going to ask me how I know these things?
Well, you've probably been following us for the majority of the day, so probably you've seen something.
I mean about the Institute more broadly.
If you
What,
know something, then please do share. Otherwise,
you experimented on there or something?
What do you know about a parasitic fungal god called the Devourer Below?
Sounds unpleasant, but I haven't been tasked to deal with them.
Yes, well,
I've heard of the other fungal gods, unless this is just another name for writhes beneath the loam.
well, a number of years ago, the Institute recognized the Devourer Below. Very controversial at the time. And indeed, the Devourer Below's offspring gods were spread throughout the territories. I gather you've encountered one of such offspring gods.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a great big mess. Turns out, all of it was just a bone to the forestry industry, an effort to accelerate expansion of the forestry industry, which itself was an effort to support various military industrial interests. But now you've got angry, mad fungus gods all over the territories, like he who rides beneath the loam. Well, I was involved in some of that work back then. I know. And now I'm trying to make what I did wrong right.
Working on behalf of your mother?
Don't worry about her for now. She's neither here nor there. That's another problem. That's a separate issue. My family, they're a weird lot, but they keep to themselves. And as long as you don't agitate mother or them, it's all fine. I'm just telling you that you're looking in the wrong place. You're not looking at the big picture. And maybe you've got to do something to satisfy the Bureau vis-a-vis mother and my family, and that's fine. But you got to start thinking more broadly here.
What makes you different from them? Because you seem a little bit more forthcoming about information, just besides the conspiracy with the military
Mr.
government.
Solomon, I don't know if you know what it's like to grow up in a small town, a dying small town like Weft. But the way it normally goes is most people never leave. But a very, very, very small number of people can't wait to get the hell out, and they do leave. And the ones that do leave, they learn about the broader world, and they become not just educated, but informed, enlightened. But the people they left back home, they never just stop being poor, dead people in Weft. It is a constant tension in my life, I assure you.
But you care about your family.
I think what you've done here is you presented an opportunity, and Bastion's going to hold his hand out and say, we indeed do have issues relating to your mother that we need to resolve in some kind of peaceable manner, and if you're willing to help us, help you with that, then I would be more than happy to conduct a more thorough investigation to this conspiracy you're speaking of.
And he says, well, all I really need is for you to help me get someone out of here.
Sure, we could do that, right, Theo?
Oh, yes.
All right. You notice he never touches the ground. This is still a very particular thing of his. And he climbs back up from whence he came.
I have got to work out more if I'm going to be able to follow him around.
Let's check in with Sybil and Mercer. So, where are you two headed?
I would like to go to this sketchy toy shop vendor that Sybil was
Yeah,
talking
me
about.
too. And I also want to talk to, maybe you can talk to Kaz and I can talk to some of the customers and ask them what they know.
Let's start with the customer, actually.
Mm.
I think you actually see as you approach, I think you see a customer who has one of the caterpillars, the glowing caterpillars that with the soothing, gently glowing caterpillar with a soothing voice. The customer, let's get there. Let's find out who it is. You've already met Richard Ward. You've met Hobb, the gardener. No. You see a man who is wearing layered jackets and scarves, windswept hair. He's got an assortment of buckets and bundles on a small wagon. By the spatters on his jacket or on his clothes, you gather he's some sort of artisan, a painter perhaps. And he's got one of the gently glowing caterpillars. He's just walking away from the tugboat. What do you do, Sybil?
I'm gonna talk to him. We say, hey, so what you doing with that there caterpillar?
He says, well, I have I've lately fallen into something of a creative rut, and I find myself unable to move on. I can't break through because I have a heaviness in my heart. And Mr. Happy Feet says that this little guy is going to eat my sorrows right up.
Now look, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm working for the government and we actually have some concerns about this caterpillar. It was, it was taken off the market by the this world's FDA, I guess. And the FDGA. And yeah, we have reason to believe it's quite dangerous and yeah, I don't think you should be using that.
Let's do the just the veiled move for now. What do you afraid is going to happen if you can't convince him to give it to you?
I'm afraid he's gonna get mad at me and I'm gonna have like a ton of people like turned against me on this weird boat.
Interesting. I like it.
And by the way, I was just about to ask him like how long he's been using it, so I don't know if I'd be getting information out of that.
Well, let's get this move done first. Go ahead and roll with
Okay.
presence to see if you can convince him.
Okay. Yeah, that's 5.
He says, "What's that?" And he holds the caterpillar up to his ear. Oh. It says that you're a liar and that you don't work for the government at all, and that what you want is you want my gently glowing caterpillar. And
Do I have like ID I can show him?
I don't know, but other customers have also the gently glowing caterpillars. And all of the gently glowing caterpillars are like glowing bright in unison, their eyes wide, almost like they're the ones in control. They're staring at you.
Okay.
And they say in unison, "Tell us your sorrows." The people say, not the worms. "Tell us what makes you so sad that you would try to steal a gently glowing caterpillar from someone who truly needs it." And they are getting closer and closer.
Oh no.
We'll come back to this. Mercer, what are you doing right now?
I don't think Mercer sees any of this because he's.
You're talking to
I want to
Kaz.
talk to this. Yeah, I want to talk to Kaz.
Kaz says, "I recognize one of the folk of the river, not because of the way you smell, but because of the way you comport yourself, friend."
Really? Do you?
Something tells me you have a grim aspect, and I would love to help you out with that.
A lot of people around here seem to want to help with that. Quite the show you have here.
It's hard being a follower of a outlawed god, isn't it?
What would you know?
I myself am not much of a follower of gods at all. Well, not devoted anyway. I prefer to find spirituality in things I can hold in my hands. Like this little fella. He pulls out a glowing, gently glowing caterpillar.
I heard of a toy like that once that you got it in a nice little package and you would feed it and it would grow. And they didn't tell you on any sort of warning label that it would keep on growing. Any dissatisfied customers with this kind of thing? Anything? I mean, it seems like a very festive atmosphere here. Anyone ever come back having any problems with your wares?
He says, "No, not at all. Now, friend, this one's on me. Why don't you use your two mouths to whisper your sorrows to my little friend?" And we'll cut there. Mm-hmm. And with our remaining time, I think I'd like to just do verses. So whoever wants to give me your branded product that you got the advertisement for, you can certainly do that. If you owe a verse of prophecy or history, you can do that as well.
Yeah, so for the advertisement, I wrote mine down earlier. Can't afford bail, hire the services of the dutiful bondsman. You'll simply be marked until the hearing, no cash necessary. But Sybil has heard that the mark involves extraction of flesh from a leg, which will be left a withered husk. Even after the hearing, they say it never fully heals. And there are horrifying rumors of what happens to those who skip town.
Love it. Thank you.
For my verse of promise deliverance, it's a sort of a vitamin that's made out of concentrated orange peel, delivered by the misbegotten line of spirals, but a little notes of it, it's the wrong type of spiral, rather misbegotten line, misbegotten spoken line, a minor god of lies and deceit and scams. So yeah, this is just orange peel in a bottle. It's not going to do much.
I think Bastian remembers a short ad he heard on the radio for Primrose Salon Services, molding the face back to youth. No longer does mere fancy dictate the method of keeping the complexion beautiful and the face young. Intelligent people will know that the best way to keep the skin lovely and fair and preserve the youthful contour of the face is to stimulate and nourish the underlying tissues. Our patented process employs experienced acolytes channeling the god hands of the one who sees and is seen to restore and retain the personal loveliness and charm that is everyone's natural right. Try it and see for yourself the improvement in your appearance. After just one 10-minute session, we promise you'll hardly recognize what you see in the mirror. And there's like a series of disclaimers that then very quick, very quick in the advertisement afterwards, you can hardly hear with the radio static. And I think there's lots of rumors that Primrose Salon Services, people after their second or third session there, they don't ever return to their life the way that it was before. I think like over time their features change to all be the same person. Maybe they're like under indictment or something at this point for.
Love it.
There is the bubble of endless breath, which is supposed to be like lets you breathe underwater. It holds your breath for you, so you can never lose it when you're swimming. But it actually never really returns all of it to your lungs, and if you use it too much, it just slowly chokes you. In fact, there's rumors that early versions of it backfired and actually made you more susceptible to drowning. It actually drew water into your lungs very slowly over time.
That's a significant product flaw. I love it. Were there any verses of prophecy or history that need to be addressed?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Moss.
Yeah, I have a verse of I think it's history, flashback to your childhood, showing your first direct encounter with God. So Sybil liked to make up and act out stories with their friends as a kid. And one of the stories was about a group of adventurers who would fight bad guys with the help of their god, Rainbow Punch Kick. But it stopped being a fun game when the kid playing a bank robber flaps to the ground with spectral rainbow spewing out of several wounds. Luckily, the kid was healed and the nascent god neutralized. But after that, Sybil and their friends learned the danger of playing with gods.
Love it. Thank you.
I have two verses of prophecy. I have the Whispered Psalm and the Ashen Circle. I'm kind of thinking I'll combine these into kind of one scene because I've got a good idea for it. But so the Whispered Psalm is narrate a flashback to the time the saint touched you directly and the blinding, agonizing grace of recurrence and your miraculous survival. And then the Ashen Circle is narrate a flashback to the time when you discovered your new abilities and were contracted in service to the saint. I think that Bastian made his way into the saint's surface by way of an apprenticeship at like his local electrical company, the local offshoot. And after going through training with a cohort of other perspectives, learning the different sigils associated with the saint, learning local codes and ordinances and how things should be installed and maintained, at the end of that probational period where you have this stage of learning, there is a test. And this isn't a written one measuring your knowledge, but it's rather one which measures your compatibility with the Saint Electric. And it's one where they take you to one of their transformer facilities, one of the ones where they step down from the production plants to a voltage and current more stable for home use. And they lead you to one of those, square transformers with coils on either side. And rather than normal sort of iron loop that connects them, that guides the flux. You are supposed to put your hands up through it, and you serve as the guide for the transformer. And he was like fourth or fifth in line. The first four were just totally fried by the experience. They were carted out of there, incompatible with the saint. But Bastian stepped forward confident and put his hands between the coils, and he felt alive like he had never felt before in his life. He'd always been kind of chasing that high of being connected to a god, of feeling a miracle. And in that moment, and as it finished, and as he stepped back alive, standing, his body surging with energy, he felt confident for the first time in his life that he had a place and purpose amongst all of the things in this world. And he like received his toolbox that day with the official insignia and received his gear and was inducted into the saint.
I love it. Thank you. Were there any others?
I have both a verse of prophecy and a verse of history. My verse of prophecy is: narrate a flashback to a time when you wished to bear someone suffering for them. I think we cut to sort of the middle of like the scene of a pretty young Theo Solomon, probably early teens, carrying a small child on his back. And as that child is just complaining, Theo, it hurts. And like we can see, like this young kid's ankle has been twisted, sort of bent in the wrong direction, can't walk at all, and it just complaining the entire time as they are heading home. And Theo's just saying, Maddie, I know it hurts. I wish I could take this away from you, but I can't. All I can do is just carry you home. And my verse of history is a flashback to your adulthood, showing the parts of your life neglected in pursuit of miracles. I think we call it a monastery, but it's really just glorified field hospital. Various people would come here when they're ill, when they can't recover from anything, at least not through normal means. And the pox monks here are very devoted, so much so that they not only take on the burdens of being ill, they allow it to physically affect them in extreme ways. They can't get up, they can't move, they can't take care of themselves, but they still live, even though when all against measure they can't live anymore. For Theo, it hasn't gotten too bad yet. You often get people here who are sick who are transferring over, and they tell stories. That's good enough for human interaction. It doesn't matter if I haven't seen my own family in almost 5 years. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Thank you. Any more? All right, then. In that case, let's go ahead and go to end of session. No rewards to collect yet. Let's go ahead and check in on end of session questions for each custodian. You have not completed an assignment today, so you don't get the first one. However, did you engage with a god, angel, or other divine manifestation? It looks like everybody has that question to answer. Theo, you did. Definitely. Bastian, you did. Mercer, do you think you did?
Ate some god flesh.
Oh, good point. Yeah. And Sybil, did you?
Yeah, I interacted with those caterpillars.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Good. So everybody gets that one. Um, Sybil, did you undermine the orders of your superiors or use the assignment to pursue personal interests?
I don't think so.
Did you go out of your way to connect with the local community?
Where was chatting with Red Gill?
I would say the
I don't
artist
know if
as
that
well.
counts.
I think the artist probably satisfies it. So you can
Oh,
definitely
right,
take that
yeah.
one. Yeah. Let's go to Theo. Did you go out of your way to connect with the local community?
I sure did. I gave away one of my items away
Oh, that's right. You
to the
did.
family.
Yeah. Were you vulnerable with someone?
I would say so. I was vulnerable with Bastion today.
I agree with that. Um, and I think, Bastion, you get that as well because you have that same question. Bastion, did you undermine the orders of your superiors or use the assignment to pursue personal interests?
I I was sort of angling for that with cutting the deal with cousin about
Oh, I'll take it.
scratching
Yeah, I'll take
scratching
it.
his
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Mercer, did you struggle with your personal faith?
Yeah, I was going for that with the like, you make the sacrifice versus this thing just
Oh,
showing up to
yeah.
do it
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Like, this is
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you undermine the orders of your superiors or use the assignment to pursue personal interests?
I was going for that with Sybil saying, like, this is not a bad, like having a black market to
Oh, right.
access
Yeah.
wouldn't be a
No, I
bad
like it.
thing.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Awesome.
Does that count for me?
Uh, well, yeah, actually, I think it would because you both were kind of basically on that same page, I feel like. So definitely. All right. Love that. Lots of XP handed out today. That's great. Let's keep going. Do we have any moves that resolve at the end of session? Don't think we do. So let's just go to stars and wishes. We have a few minutes. I'll start today. I really enjoyed the session, and I liked that we got to learn so much about the custodians today. There were so many good like one-on-one scenes. There were a lot of great verses. Everybody was really good with the advertisement verses were really fun. They were just very well done and fun and vivid. So stars for those. And yeah, star generally for folks kind of leaning into the danger. Really love that. That was a lot of fun to see, especially vis-a-vis the Dusk Mother. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed that a lot. Star also for like the use of the faith sheet moves today. Everybody did really like a lot of fun stuff with their faith sheet moves and kind of turn those not just to get like mechanical benefit, but also to kind of show us something about the characters. And I really love that as well. So yeah, it was really good fun. And I was really happy that I was able to kind of reveal more of the conspiracy, which I think is really enjoyable. And even though we've only got a couple more sessions, I think if you were playing a full campaign of this, you would kind of see, you get a sense of like where it's going, right? And kind of like what would be happening, long term. So it was kind of fun to kind of show a little bit of that as well. And wishes, yeah, I hope you all get a chance to journey over to the third assignment and kind of check that out because it's a really interesting assignment from a setting standpoint and from a kind of theme standpoint. I can't recall ever playing a scenario like the Sleepless Warden in any other game. It's very unique and it's kind of feeling, and so I'll be just excited to go take a look at that. Yeah, those are my stars and wishes.
Yeah, I gotta give a star for just like how we tried to make sure that the plants stayed safe, like from like the Dusk Mother, but we end up getting it burned to the ground anyways. That was real good fun. I really liked the conversation with cousin of like why are you telling us this? And it's like don't worry about it. Um, I've been outside this town before, and I need to make sure my family's okay. And that was just really interesting to see like a different side of that family. It's being meanwhile we're being intercut with like with this very populated area of like with all these like shops and like all these people like interacting with each other, running their businesses, and just like I always enjoy Mercer like eating weird stuff. That's always a fun time. Uh, uh, Sybil is still the most pragmatic of us and getting stuff done and not getting into too much trouble unless it actually seeks them out. So that's very interesting. Yeah, I really enjoyed my scene with Bastion today. That was a very interesting look as to how we currently view our relationships to the divine in very different ways. I think Theo's still pretty faithful, while Bastion is questioning his own faith. So yeah, which is yeah, I definitely would like to see some journey moves next time, like so we just can like all meet up again before like this game is over.
I would add stars to seeing Cousin talk about the conspiracy, because I like how we got this very like weird and feral idea of this family at first, and then we're seeing. I thought it was a really good depiction of like, yeah, living in a small town, and you go outside of there, you get some perspective, but it's still your family, and like just interesting depth to that character, and fun
if
way
I can
to
add
yeah
to, I
yeah.
love that. I think we're meant to think that Cousin won't touch the ground because he's bird-like, like the rest of the family are taking on these bird-like
Mhm.
qualities. But there's also this idea of he knows there's a fungus god on the ground that is like, and like it's an interesting like what is the real reason why he won't do it?
That was really cool. Yeah, and the expansion of like the fungal god, just like the really good like world building glimpse we got there with the conspiracy was really well done. And I stars too, having again our weird separation of like the mostly legit lawful deity followers, and then the like more on the fringe outright illegal ones banding together. Just the scenes with that have been really fun, and how we're in this weird black marketplace, it just fits very well. But that said, one wish would be to try to split up the group. Just hasn't worked out yet, but it would be interesting to see the different configuration of characters. And also wish I got a new move last session. I'm kind of waiting for the moment to build on the ruthless outlawed false faith follower theme of Mercer. So if that presents itself, I want to try it out.
Yeah, definitely stars to everybody role playing, and I really liked learning more about the characters. It was a really cool session. And as for wishes, I'm just really curious to see how both of these stories will resolve.
Yeah. My first star goes to just the box that things go away in. Just the existence of a box where you can just put stuff that, it's the stop worrying about it box. That stuff like that always tickles me a little bit. Um
I
true
love
to
the I love the disclaimer on the box, like or the
yeah.
warning, yeah, which is that's in the text of the scenario, and it's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, my like for everyone star is I when I read the prompt for coming up with our own like god related product, I immediately sort of thought of the one that I did, and I was just like, man, like I don't know, I was feeling like sort of creatively limited, like I don't really know where else I would go with it, and then to hear how everybody else took it in their own very distinct direction, I really loved that. It was so cool to me to see how other people can take the same information and draw totally different ideas from it. So I really liked that. For wishes, boy, I am same there with Moss. I'm super curious as to like where we're going to resolve these situations, because I think like us wrapping up both of these and then journeying together to the new destination is kind of the angle we're going for. And so we have to make some decisions, and I'm excited to see what happens there.
Are there any more stars or wishes? Okay, in that case, let's go ahead and wave goodbye. Bye.
Bye.